Good Shabbos, everybody. Um, we get bombarded with people telling us different things, whether it is, bleep, you just got a Facebook message, or bleep, an instant, a text message just came in, or the phone rings, or you're going down the street and all of the advertisements just screaming, pay attention to me, look at me, you need this. I mean, everything all over the place. There's things telling us what to do. You go and you walk down the street and everyone's who's carrying a bag, the bag advertises something. Even you buy a car, the back of the car tells everyone what kind of car you got. It says, buy one of these. We're being yelled at a lot. We're being blared at all over the place. People telling us, come do this, don't do that. And it's so much more than we can possibly absorb. What happens is we absorb it like subconsciously, and we do things that we don't even know why we're doing them. And there's another thing that happens. We sort of, over time, develop a little cotton in our ears. We can't really hear what's going on. We kind of block things out. And that's a survival technique. It's what we become calloused to those sounds. But it makes it hard to hear when someone is crying out for a really important reason, when someone is trumpeting an important cause. This week's Torah portion speaks to that. It speaks to it in a kind of metaphorical way. It tells the story of a few different things that we're supposed to do. One of them is, I want to contrast two things. One of them, it says, make two shofars. In Hebrew, shofarot is the plural for shofar. Make two silver shofarot, hammer them out of silver. And also in the Torah portion, it says, make a menorah out of gold, out of solid gold, hammer it out of gold. Now, I think that those two are related, even though they're not like right next to each other in the Torah portion. I think that, silver, gold, both of them hammered. The menorah it was the eternal light. It has to do with light and everything that light stands for, and the ability to see things. And then the Haftarah talks about the menorah in a whole different way and why it's there. It's the story of a guy named Zerubbabel in the book of Zechariah. And this is several hundred years later, we're in Babylonia. And they said he gets this vision to make an eternal light, and that all of the people are going to come back to Jerusalem, to Israel. And at the end, it's those famous words, not by might and not by power, but by my spirit, says Adonai. You're not going to do it because someone's just really strong. You're not going to do it because you got a big army, because you're just going to conquer. The only way you're going to get back to Jerusalem, the only way you're going to get back to the temple and have an eternal light is through the Spirit of God. And do you welcome God's Spirit in? Do you have a sense of God's teachings and what's good for all of us? Do you have a sense of being kind to strangers? Do you have a sense of honoring this world? The things that God teaches us, what God's Spirit means. The shofars envision a time when there is no advertising. Envision a time where the farthest that someone's voice could reach to is Other side of the field, maybe. Nowadays, we're so used to, we don't just have megaphones, we have, you type and it goes all over the place. All over the place. You can insult someone halfway around the world. You can insult 100,000 people and with one little click of the return button, the enter button on your computer. Hundreds of thousands of people you can insult. That's a pretty big horn that we all sort of have. It's like we're all walking around with horns. They had that at they had a phenomenon a few years back at soccer games where people would bring in these long horns called vuvuzela. They were plastic ones. And at first, if ever your team scored a goal, you would blow. But after a while, everyone started blowing it all the time. And so you go to a soccer game and it's like, oh, the noise all the time, the noise. You don't know whether someone scored or didn't score. You don't know whether you're cheering or not. It's just noise. And that's a lot what our days can be like. Just noise coming at us. So these shofars, these shofar that were silver, there was a sacredness to them. They weren't for everybody. They were to do certain things. The first is, God says it's time to get up and move. They would blow the shofar to tell everyone, it's time to do something. It's time to move. Listen to the call. The call is going out to move. And you would trust the people that if it was the shofar, it came from God's word. There's a lot of trust, and you would move. You would hear the call. It's kind of like the fire department. They get a call, they trust it, and they go. They figure that people aren't pulling the fire alarm just to prank someone. They go. They hear the call, they go. It's good to listen to the call, and it's good to trust people. And it's good to view a call as a sacred thing. The second thing that they were to do, in case there were enemies that coming to attack us for danger, that it would sound an alarm. Get ready, prepare to go out. There's a danger coming. The third thing that it was to do was to announce holidays, new moons and holidays, that we could all be together and celebrate. And the fourth was when a war had ended, to proclaim peace throughout the land. To say, all right, peace. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to say, yes, we got peace right now. Enjoy it. Hard to step back and do that. The thing about a shofar is it's a very communal thing. It's an everybody kind of thing. When you blow a shofar, it goes out for everyone to hear. A menorah and a light is a different kind of a thing. It's not a huge communal thing. A light, think of it like a flashlight. It's much more of a personal thing. A flashlight helps you to see things. When a shofar tells you what to do, a light helps you to understand why to do something, to see why. There's some understanding there. We do it not just because of something strong, but because of God's Spirit. The best is when we have both. When we have a shofar and we have a menorah. When we have the menorah to look and to see what the really important things are in life, why we should do things. To take a look and to see and look and see that people are in pain on an individual level and understand it. To look and to see that we're all one people. We're not really so different from one another. Black skin, white skin, we're not so different from one another. Light helps you to see that. It's really all about God's Spirit. And it's not just how loud a shofar is blown. It's about that like still small voice of the shofar that's calling us. We get bombarded with things, and most all of it is noise. Yet we can't just, we've got to be able to listen. We've got to be able to hear when it's time to do something. It's time for change. It's time to pick up from where we're at and to make something better, to change, to get up and move to a different place. And we need to do it as a whole community. That's the power of the shofar. And we don't just follow blindly. We need the menorah to see where's God's Spirit. Which shofar that's being blown is for the good of everybody. We need to know why, and that is the menorah. And the two of them go hand in hand. The shofar and the menorah. I don't know that I answered every question, but I want to leave it with you to think about the difference between hearing things from a shofar and seeing things from a menorah. Understanding the what to do and the why to do it. I think there's a lot to that. We're going to be applying those same concepts with in our congregation, where we're sharing with the congregation on the north end of Hartford. It's called Walk in the Light Church of God, and it's headed up by the Archbishop Dexter Burke and his wife, Dr. Amber Burke. What they do is they minister to so many people on the north end of Hartford, which is, I believe it's the poorest community in all of Connecticut. They minister to them. Oh, does someone have their, is someone not muted? They minister to that group, not just for their own church, but they're tied into the 911 system. If there's people that need help, they send out people to actually do that help. They help not only with food, with clothing, but with domestic abuse or with any violence. They do a tremendous amount of wonderful work, and we have partnered with them. But the shofar has been blown. The call has gone out for us to do more, that we need to do more. And so we're going to, this Sunday, right after the annual meeting, we have an annual meeting at 10 o'clock at a Zoom. You can Zoom in. It's a different Zoom number than this. You needed to be invited for it. But at the same Zoom code as you do for services at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a discussion with some of the people from that church about what we're going to do to answer the call on a deeper level. And there are some ideas that are bantered about. Maybe we can make maybe we can make a statement, a communal statement from both of our communities. Maybe we can fortify the work that we're already doing, bringing supplies to them for disbursement. Maybe we can have more people involved in getting it, or collect from different sources, or give to even greater numbers of people in need. Or maybe we can do, we talked about an idea where people come together and study what justice means. What does it mean in the book of Deuteronomy? Justice, justice you shall pursue. Well, our tradition says an awful lot about it. There's a lot written in the Talmud and Midrash and commentaries about what that means. A lot. Just like the story of Miriam and the healing of the leprosy. We read a lot into these things. There's a lot of powerful teachings. And we can tell stories and mostly listen to stories. Mostly listen to stories of justice. justice that was served or justice that was withheld or denied. And then react to those stories and react to those teachings. And maybe have a few different sessions where our people come together and listen and tape them and record them, and with the goal of making maybe a 10 or 15-minute video with a few people doing little snippets one after another and reacting to different things and seeing Jews and African Americans interspersed, sharing, realizing that even though there's two communities, it's mostly just one community. I think that it'll help us unite that menorah and unite the shofar so that we're not only called to do, but we understand why to do. Anyways, those are some thoughts about it.